In a world that moves fast and forgets easy, veterans, after they take off their uniforms, coaches, shaping tomorrow's leaders today, volunteers, choosing service over self, everyone has a story, and most of them exist because they kept trying. These are the stories, so they are not forgotten. My name is Bill Lau, and this is Semper Tri, because trying beats quitting. All right, welcome to episode 2 of Semper Tri, because trying beats quitting. I'm here with Wayne Harting. So Wayne, Wayne's a veteran. Wayne, when did you join the military?
So right out of high school,
Okay. Right out of high school, and you joined what service?
I joined the National Guard,
National Guard, what state?
Minnesota.
Minnesota. So I wonder, is Minnesota National Guard, is that actually a military unit, or is that
Yeah,
just kind of like, because
it's right there.
really, so like, why do they always give Walls a hard time that his service wasn't real if he was part of this National Guard? So I'm just curious, is your service real then?
Yeah, I think part of that was what he said he was in the National Guard.
Gotcha.
It's kind of funny because when I went in the National Guard, I did it as a heavy equipment operator, and the guys that were there to run the new equipment, and they were really good at what they did.
Okay.
They were people that did that in their everyday life, and they were just doing it in the military because they got to ride in brand new D8 cats and graders and scrapers and cranes and all sorts of things like that. And I think it was kind of different than what maybe the normal, why some people went in the military.
Okay. So you're saying that National Guard, kind of like the reservists, they're doing the 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year, that they're doing this every day of their lives. They're bringing the civilian life and expertise of running this equipment to the military versus an 18-year-old straight out of high school just doing it for the military.
Right. And I think, when you're trying to get some experience, I guess that's why I did it. I went on the buddy system.
Okay.
I had another Wayne that was coming in with me. He didn't pass the physical. So I went in solo, went to Fort Leonard Wood, basic training, did that thing, and then was a crane operator.
Okay.
So it was 62 Foxtrot. The one thing nice about that, I think I was one of the only ones in the state. So what that meant was the rank and stuff like that was open to just move up to. So I went
Better
up rather
promotion.
quickly.
Yep.
Yep.
So on your weekends then, where did you go?
So it was kind of a unique time in the National Guard. We started doing community projects as the National Guard with this equipment. So we built the Little Falls Civic Center, the platform what they put the Civic Center on. The JC's Park down on Oak Street. We leveled all that, put all that in, did the dirt work. We actually took the crane and actually put the airplane on at the airport. What else did we do? Did some stuff clearing up at the airport, just different things that basically all the civilians had to do was pay us uh, provide food, and then we just provided the equipment and the people. And so we got kind of a real life experience that way also. Our unit was kind of unique. We did go to Jamaica. I didn't make that trip. That was more the carpenters and stuff that were in our unit, but I did go to Honduras.
Okay.
So that was unique. 110 degrees, and it was 100 degrees by 10 in the morning.
So Honduras, that was one of the 2 week pump ups that the National Guard does a year.
Yep.
Okay.
And so, yeah, we went there. We were helping build roads. They'd shipped all the equipment there, and they were just rotating in and out different guard units, I guess, to do this work.
So you guys didn't bring your own equipment. The equipment was there. You
Equipment was
guys are
there.
just coming
Yep.
to run it. Okay. So 2 weeks in Honduras and it was hot. Any active duty time when you
So
were in?
I did actually 2 summers worked active guard,
Okay.
which basically I went down and we were building the C-130 runway, the Veterans Cemetery, and some ranges out there. It was the first electronic ranges that they put in. So yeah, I helped do that for 2 summers.
Okay. So what years were you in?
I was in from 86 for 8 years.
8 years. So before it really got bad. Never
Yeah.
had to go overseas really
So
to fight
Kuwait.
terrorists.
Yeah, Kuwait was just starting when I was in. That was a volunteer thing. Afghanistan was just starting to roll.
A little
I had
bit of
had,
that.
yeah, 8 years in, and I had gotten out thinking, boy, if I go 10, I got to go 20. I really wasn't doing that. And so when I got out about a year later, my unit did go to Afghanistan for
Okay.
a year.
Gotcha. So you missed out on that, which is probably a good thing. Nothing wrong with that. After, what did you learn from the military that you brought to real life? What did you take from it?
Yeah, I think on my end of things, even before I went to the military, I guess I was a supervisor at Pizza Hut, and I wasn't so into sports as I was working before I got into the military. So I kind of had that mentality even going in there. I think that it was the discipline. It was some of the things, in basic training when you were in there with the gas mask. It was the one time I actually thought that, hey, this is not going well. I think I might actually die. They held those doors shut and you had to clear the mask and all that, and I will never forget that. Other than that, I think, I didn't basic training was more of a head game. I thought it was unique when they kept you in the class for 10, 12 hours, and then all of a sudden somebody came in and said, "We're going to war." And they just wanted to see how people were going to react. And it was interesting to see how certain people did react.
Yep, I remember that day for me in boot camp. It was the find out who the conscientious objectors were. So I remember, not talk too much about myself here, but that was during the time when I had like the shin splints or the fractures in my feet. So I had been to that class and I had to go to it again. Well, then I'd sit in the back of the classroom with the ones going through it actively, and they'd tell the story of that. I'd be in the background knowing what was going on, so you knew it was coming. And then just to see all the people start crying or the freaking out, I bet you two, three people every time
Yep.
got ejected out of
Yeah.
the military.
And that's how they got rid of people. And it was a mental game. I think it was good. I think that part of the discipline and as it got easier, they kind of let off a little bit. I guess the one story I think was pretty funny is we had a drill sergeant that was just prim and proper. And that was his thing. His boots were always shined. If there was a military code, he was on it. And then we had another gentleman that was a little more fun to be around, and one of the drill sergeants. And we probably had 100 people in line. And when you got done shooting, you would all stand in line and you'd walk up with your M16 and no brass, no ammo, drill sergeant. And they'd clear your weapon. So the drill sergeant came up to me and he said, "Mr. Harting, when you get up there, you tell him you got nothing to hide, Clyde." So 100 people went up and said, "No brass, no ammo, drill sergeant." And I got up there and said, "Nothing to hide, Clyde." And just the whole place erupted and laughed. And I did push ups for a while, but
I'll say,
it was one of those things. It was towards the end and we were having fun. But
yeah, you wouldn't get away with that in the Marine Corps,
yeah.
that's for sure. So that had to be an Army thing there. But yeah, that's awesome. Like Honduras, tell us a little bit about that. Like
So in Honduras, we flew up out of Brainerd actually with a loaded M16, which was interesting.
C-130s, what'd you
No,
fly on?
actually on commercial planes. And so when we landed in Honduras, they would come by with the trucks with the 60 cals on it, and they would follow you down the runway. And then they put us up for the night at the airport. It was like we were bivouacking for a night. And then we loaded onto C-130s, and then we flew out to where we were putting in these roads. So I don't even know where I was in Honduras, to be
Okay.
honest with you. We were out in the mountains. There was Contras coming down and killing families. The Honduran guard actually guarded us at night. So we had kind of a camp, and the Honduran guard would be around that and watch us at night. And some of the things I saw there, it's a different world.
Yeah.
If they found a person sleeping on duty, they actually caned them. And that was in front of all our troops. So we had people that kind of freaked out there. And it's like, hey, this person's falling asleep could cost you your life. But yeah, I think they came in Honduras. And if you were at a party or at a wedding and you were of the right age, they just grabbed you and you were in the military. And so how they treated people and how they did things were different. And we did get to see that. And it was eye opening.
Yeah. It makes you appreciate being here,
Yeah.
seeing these third world countries like that. So after that, you got back 8 years, probably didn't go back to Pizza Hut, or did you go back to Pizza Hut or
No, so actually in the time that I was going just summers at Camp Ripley, in the wintertime, I had a friend that worked at Poor Gary's Disposal, which was a garbage company.
okay?
And so in the wintertime, I was going there and I was running roll off truck, kind of just doing whatever they needed. And I did get a license. The one thing I did when I came out of basic and AIT and my stuff is I did get a license for semi. And it was at a time when they actually let you transfer that over to a civilian license.
Oh, nice.
When I did it, it was right at the very end. And so I had a license and then it just kind of stuck there. I actually spent 10 years. They got bought out twice, ended up being owned by the biggest garbage company in the world, Waste Management. Probably worked for them for like 7 years and decided, it's just maybe it's time to try something a little different. And I went to the power company for a while, about another 10 years. And the people that had started with Poor Gary started another company again. and Waste Partners, and I ended up back in the garbage world. So I've really only had two jobs.
Nice.
So yeah,
3 including the
three
National Guard.
including the National Guard.
Perfect.
Yep.
Nice. So then, obviously, now being the commander of the Brainerd American Legion, obviously that's a volunteer. You put a lot of hours, into making sure things go off right here, and kind of like the CEO. If you don't know what a commander is, it's the CEO of the Brainerd American Legion. Before this, and we'll get into the Legion here in a minute, like any volunteering opportunities? Did you really volunteer before this, or is this kind of your first? Or
No, I guess I had two girls growing up, and my one was really into athletics. So I coached
okay, so coach,
soccer and t-ball and baseball and things that I didn't really play in high school. And I was all of a sudden here I am coaching them.
right?
And I played hockey and I picked up racquetball and I liked some of those sports. And I really wasn't doing the stuff like that. But, you know, I even coached some Bronco League for the boys and some stuff where I didn't have a child in that sport. And that was more unique.
Okay,
You didn't get the, oh, you're treating my kid or my kid's doing this. It was kind of nice to coach and not have that.
right. So being a coach in these other sports like that, so a baseball team, I'm guessing, was the Broncos.
Yep.
Like, how is it like? It would be hard. Like, okay, you can play, you can't play. Like, how does that go through your head? Like, obviously the parents are out there like getting
Yep.
mad that their kid isn't getting to play maybe as much, but like you said, your kid's not in it, so you're making hopefully these decisions that are best for the team.
Yeah, and I think it made it easier because they didn't look like I was, I guess when my daughter was pitching and doing some of those things, I was probably quicker to pull her than maybe the assistant coach. And so I would let him handle the pitching part of it. And so I didn't try to coach her when some of that stuff was going on. And it's funny because the group of girls that started when they were 6 or 7 was softball, and pretty soon she was doing 16 and under softball when she was 13. And girls were driving to softball, and here I'm bringing this 13-year-old girl there. And but by the time she played in the CLC instead of high school, and literally that same group of girls that I had coached through were a lot of those were on that CLC softball team.
Awesome.
So it was neat. It was to see them all go there and grow up and ended up being really good softball players, and it was fun to watch.
So yeah, volunteering as a coach then, like other nonprofit volunteering, just any.
Yeah, when I was part of Waste Partners and the waste companies, I was in Sertoma. I was in the Mid Minnesota Builders. I did a lot of different things like that. And when we were in the Builders, I was on the executive board there also.
Okay,
So that was doing a lot of community service. We did the house out at the Croing State Park because we had builders and we built that house or
okay,
reconstructed it. We did some stuff at the fairgrounds. So we did the fence at the on Oak Street there where they exchange kids. So yeah, I guess I've always volunteered. It's just been one of those things that it's kind of in my blood.
right. Yep. So then I guess that brings us to now. What got you on the board at the American Legion? How did that like all of a sudden like, because usually, I sit on the Brainerd American Legion board too. Usually a board member is retired. They have that time in life. You're not retired, I'm not retired. So it's almost like taking on a second job when you have a full-time job. What got you on the board to then come the commander?
I guess I have been coming to the Legion. I've been a member of the Legion for many, many years because my dad was a commander. And I wasn't tight with the Legion, kind of what you and I are doing now. I was part of the Legion Riders. So I had a motorcycle.
Okay.
So for 5, 6, 7 years, that's all I did was I was a part of the Legion Riders. So we were coming to the Legion, we were doing fundraisers and things like that, but I wasn't part of the Legion as much. And then as I saw stuff going on a couple of years ago, I guess I can blame Kevin Stunick. He came down and, hey, we're going to run and do this and do that. Hey, I need some help. And so Tom Getty and I decided that, hey, we're going to run for this. And by golly, that's what happened. And so I got on the executive board for a couple of years, kind of with a business background. I think that's what the Legion really needed. Oh, they weren't looking at P&Ls. They weren't doing some of the finer things. Everything was just, what's the checkbook doing? That was how they managed everything. And they didn't know where money was going. They didn't know what was working, what wasn't working, because nobody tracked it.
There's a lot of this is how we've always done it,
Yep.
is from what I've seen, like this is how we've always done it. Well, I took over as gambling manager almost 9 years ago here at the Legion or whatever, and then just got on the board here this last year. But that's what I heard a lot of too. That's how we always done it. That's how we always done it. So I like numbers, but yes, I have seen you really turn around and actually seen a P&L that is accurate, which is awesome and amazing. But another thing that you have done since you've been commander in June, right?
Yeah.
June this year, so you only commander. What has been your biggest focus?
So it's kind of funny. I did it without really telling everybody else this was going to be my focus. I kept asking, every meeting I'd listen to the membership go, well, we're down again. And they just kind of accepted it. And so I saw that for 2 years that nobody even really talked about it. We were losing 50 people, 100 people a year. And that was whether they were passing away or they just didn't re-sign up. And the whole focus of the Legion seemed to be, I'm open to the public. So why be a member? And I thought, you know what? I'm going to try to change membership because I think that's something people will see. And if we get more members, we're going to have more volunteers and different things like that and make more money. And so I personally decided to do a membership drive. And I guess you and Jamie and some people got involved with me and helped. And I think we signed up nearly 65 members
The
in the
first
last
couple
three
of
four
months.
months.
Yep.
So it's been really good. We put something online. You were part of that. And I think it really changed where you could go online, put your credit card in, and boom, you were a member. And now it's going to be reoccurring and you'll get notices and emails and different things like that. And I think the biggest thing about being that member is you get that email once a month that says what's happening at the Legion.
Right. So tell us more about being a member of the Legion. I mean, like you always see these people, I run out to them in the community like, oh, I don't smoke or drink. Neither do I. I don't smoke or drink either. Yeah, you might have a social drink once in a while, but not the daily, every day. That's why I go to the Legion. So who can be a member of the Legion, I guess? And how do we get a few more of those young people?
As I've been talking to people, it's been interesting to know how many people didn't know they could be members of the Legion. If you're a guy, if your grandpa or your dad were in the military for even one day of active service and were honorably discharged, you can be a member for $20 a month or $20 a year.
And what membership is that?
That would be the SAL, so Sons of the American Legion.
Okay.
Super easy. It's relatively inexpensive. And I think what it does is it gets our numbers up. And we've almost doubled our SAL membership in the last 3 months. I think there was only about 50 people last year that were members still of the SAL. And so we've signed up almost that many people again, and hopefully the other ones will sign back up. So it does help when we're looking for people to get veterans benefits and do things like that. Having a bigger membership just helps.
So that's like when you go to, if the Legion itself was go to Capitol Hill or go something like, these are the people that support us. So there's SAL. What else is there? There's like an auxiliary.
Yep. So the auxiliary would be if you were a female, and again, your parents, grandparents, or I think a sibling in that case can actually be a member. If your sister was in the
Right.
military,
I
I
think,
believe
yeah.
there's got some different rules there. We have them on our website. You can come in and look at that and see what those are. That one's a little more money. I think that one's about $40 a year. And they have their own kind of group here and they do their things. And then we also have just the veterans and, you know, for $55.
Yep.
And one of my other focuses was we were open to the public and people kept saying, well, why do I want to be a member? And other than the obvious, we're looking for veteran benefits and we're helping veterans. I wanted to make it something that we could come to the Legion, and whether you came once a week, every week, every month, whatever that is, there's something here for you if you're a member. And I guess you were a part of that. When we started doing the fall rendezvous, we gave members 11% off. We have a member meal now. We do a member drawing for $50 once a month. So if you just come in, you get to sign a slip that puts you in for that $50. You can come in for $6 and have a sandwich and a cup of soup. And I don't think I would challenge anybody to find, other than maybe a gas station, where you can eat for that kind of money.
It ain't gonna be homemade like Peggy makes it here.
No, and the
No.
soup is phenomenal. Club sandwich for $7. We just tried to make it so you're seeing return on investment. And then the other thing was if you come in on a Monday through Thursday from 2 to 5, what they call rippies. So if you have a drink or a pop, it doesn't matter what it is, you pull the ticket, you might get $1 off, you might get $2 off, you might get it for half price.
So happy hour for
Kind of a
Legion
happy hour
members.
just for members. And it's not just veteran members, it's any member. And so as we do things and we're doing clothing and selling some things, we're trying to really think about what are we doing for our members.
So don't want to come into the Legion. How do I get this information? Where can I go?
Brainerd Legion 255.org.
Okay.
That's probably the easiest. It's on the website. That was one of the other things we tackled when we first came on is really updating that, getting some more pictures, getting updated pictures and some of the information on there. I think that's really changed. And you've been a big part of that. I think surround yourself with good people is the how you succeed in this world.
So you're saying surround yourself with people that work harder than you?
Yeah, there you go. Work
Just
harder
kidding.
or smarter than you.
Right. Or at least they're willing to help.
You know what? Or they're smarter in a different area that you're not. And I guess whether it's in the garbage world, it's in the military, it's in the Legion. If you get a board and you get some people that, hey, I'm good at this, and maybe I'm not so strong in that area. But you know what? Somebody else is going to take that ball and run that part of it then. And so yeah, we've done some things that aren't normal. And I think it's working.
Perfect. So another thing the Legion has done is they try to do a little bit of clothing. Wayne had brought a few of the hats. As you can see, they're Be the One. Be the One is the American Legion's veterans, soldier, whatever, Marines, Air Force, all of them, suicide prevention. So be the one to reach out, talk to them. I know the American Legion here has teamed up with Smiles for Jake. So this is a collab hats that we have. They have them on BrainerdLegion255.org. You can go on there. There's a little merchandise button you can click on, see all these. They are $15 on there. If you type in Semper Tri, all capital letters, as a discount code, you'll get 25% off. So, and that's on all the merchandise. That's on the shipping. There's other shirts and sweatshirts on there. We're always trying to update it every couple months, get a few new items. But yeah, go on there. That code will be good for a week or two here. So if you've listened this far, we appreciate it. Anything else?
Yeah, I guess the one other thing we did do is Betty Johnson was a teacher in Brainerd and she passed away and she had a fund. And about last December, she gave a pretty good chunk of money to a lot of different organizations in Brainerd, whether it be the Elks, the Eagles, here. And we did some stuff and we did a scholarship fund and it's reoccurring. So it's, we're taking that money. Well, when I first started this 4 months ago, they did some more money. And I thought, I'm going to do something with membership with that. And so one of the other things I have right now is this money is set aside for if you're a member of the Brainerd Legion or a veteran and you're doing anything with youth activities, because that's what you want the money to go for. And so I've got a form you can fill out. You can email it. You can see that online also. And I tried to think a little bit outside of the box. I know you're in the gambling and we give a lot to some of the Brainerd sports and the Warriors and the Warrior Cheer and the wrestlers and football teams. And this I'm trying to think a little more out of the box with, and we've given money to veterans that were helping with violin lessons. We have one veteran that was homeschooling and they have a co-op and they needed some money for sporting equipment. Coach for the trap team, some of the money went for that.
Yep.
The same thing with the Pillager trap team.
Some youth church
Activities. If you're bringing kids to Valley Fair and hey, maybe I want some money for lunch or gas money or however. If you're a veteran or a member of the Brainerd Legion and you're doing some of these things with youth, get a hold of us and you never know. All you have to do is ask. The worst we can say is no.
Right.
And it goes in front of a little board that we have and we decide where that money goes. I think that's been, we've probably given $6,000, $7,000 away. And I do think that that's, again, just another benefit to being a member.
Yep. That's awesome. So Wayne Harting, veteran, coach, learned that today. He's a coach and volunteering as at the Legion, volunteering other nonprofits. So, I mean, once again, trifecta. I think this will be a common thing we see. If one person is one thing, they've probably hit more 2 or 3. So a little shorter, but like I said, my podcasts will be 10 minutes. They'll be an hour. They'll all be on what the stories that we hear and see. I thank you, Wayne, for coming out. Maybe I'll have Wayne again. Like I said, if you have any questions for me or anybody, email is sempertripodcast@gmail.com and just reach out and ask your questions. So other than that, thank you again, Wayne.
Yeah. And you know what? If you have questions about being a member, come down. The bar staff, Billy or I are here. Shoot us on Facebook. However you need to get a hold of us and you got questions, let us know and we'll certainly get you hooked up.
Awesome. Thank you, Wayne.
Thank you.
I think episode 3, we're going to be looking to talk to Jennifer Lau with CRMC Foundation. So stay tuned for that.